It's 11 o'clock. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the education conference, the first ever one that we've ever done online. So we're expecting anything can happen, and it probably will, which is all great because we tested out chess and technology over the course of the weekend. And very fortuitously, chess and technology was actually always going to be the theme of this conference. We decided the theme last year, and it's become even more relevant given the extremely strange times that we're living in at the moment. Now, I'm not going to focus on anything negative today, so we're not going to mention anything about viruses and what have you. We're going to be very positive today, and we've got a fabulous panelists lined up here for your entertainment and enjoyment as we study all about school chess during the pandemic. And we've got 1.5 hours for this panel, and we've got lots and lots of things to show in displays and presentations and things like that. So even though it's 1.5 hours, I'm sure it'll go really quickly. And we have 4 speakers, so I'm hoping that we're going to divide the time up equally. And Sarah's very bravely agreed to go first. So we have Sarah Longson from the UK Chess Challenge in England. And 2 years ago, Sarah was a guest at another one of our conferences in London. And she told us all about how the UK Chess Challenge was expanding, and there were all sorts of marvelous tournaments going on. And of course, things have changed a little bit this year. So it's like a sequel to Sarah's first presentation, if you like. And while we're on the subject of chess conferences online, I made the point in the previous one, which is the Book of the Year Award, that when people have virtual backgrounds, as I've got now, of course, people are tempted to put all sorts of things on their backgrounds. And one of the most popular ones is people pretending to be in an enormous library full of magnificent books, which is why I'm delighted that Sarah hasn't used a virtual background. She's actually got a physical background there. And I do believe they really are books, aren't they, Sarah?
Yeah, majority of them are chess books, so there you go.
Chess books, so she's fitting in very nicely with the theme of the whole chess world. But now over to Sarah, who's going to tell us all about what she's done to adapt to the unusual circumstances for the UK Chess Challenge. Okay, Sarah?
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'll just share my screen with you so you can see the presentation. Yeah, I run the UK Chess Challenge, and obviously we've come under some, I won't say challenging, interesting times with the pandemic. So last year, we had to adapt very quickly to moving the challenge online, and that worked very, very well. Mostly because of Lee Chess. Lee Chess was absolutely fantastic, and it helped get everything going. So because we're talking about schools chess this morning, I'm going to focus on the schools chess element. So hopefully you can see my screen. And school chess clubs in the UK at the moment are very, very few, because it's not allowed to run them at the moment. So we're having to adapt and think of new things to do. And I used to run, I think, 10 classes, and at the moment there's only one club that's running, and that's running in a very limited capacity. So there's only 12 people in it, and they have to be from a certain bubble, which is the same year group. So obviously that's not ideal, because in chess clubs it's nice to have year 2s beating year 6s and all of that. So the good thing about chess is that we're very lucky and we can continue online. And I was always a bit nervous about running large groups online, but this sort of forced me to do it. And I've been very, very impressed with what you can do online in terms of running chess clubs. And in some ways, I feel like they've got very different benefits. You don't have those annoying kids that are shouting out all the time and interrupting you. You don't have to worry about classroom control. You can just focus on what you're trying to achieve, which for me is that the children have fun and is that the children learn. So I'm going to show you how a typical chess club that we run would work and how we've sort of adapted it. At the beginning, we used to run them using just Lee Chess and Zoom. And then I added the idea of putting PowerPoint presentations in to make it a bit more engaging for the children. And now this term, we've included quizzes, which is an interactive quiz into the lesson. So I'm going to show you that in a moment. But here's just a little bit of information there. So having the quizzes in, it means that children can actively participate in the lessons. Because I guess in the past, you have a few children that are sort of looking around and you can't really see the engagement unless you've got something interactive for the children to do. and I can download all of the scores from the children, so I can see who's struggling in which areas, and it works, in my opinion, very, very well. Instead of having them as school chess classes, I adapted to having them in ability level classes, because there's no point having somebody that's looking at complicated tactics and then somebody that doesn't know how the bishop moves in the same class. You have to have the same ability level groups, in my opinion, to make it work and to give the children the best way to learn. So I don't think it really matters that they're not all from the same school. You can still run school chess competitions in the background to give it that personalization of saying that, you know, you're the school champion from X school. So I'm just going to show you a bit more now. So when the children join the classes, I make sure that they have all the details and they're part of a WhatsApp group. Now, as you can see here, organization is very important. So we've got, I didn't make all of these, and we've got a team of people doing them, but we've got elite chess studies, and we've got PowerPoint presentations and quizzes. So let me take, for example, week 7, this one here. I'm going to show you quizzes. So I've got a lead chess study of it, all the questions. So the children get access to that. We use Google Sheets to share that with the parents. And now this is the quizzes link. So during the actual live session, the children would be doing it live. But now I'm just going to show you having a go at it in their own time, which they're able to do after the lesson if they want to go through something, or if they've missed a lesson. So I'm not going to go through the chess now, but I'm just giving you an example. So my PowerPoint presentation has been put into quizzes. So you just go through at your own pace. We try and make it a bit of fun, so we add some sort of trivia questions as well. I'm not testing your chess, so don't worry. And this is just an example. So we have some introduction slides to the theme that we're teaching that week. And then the children will have a go at attempting the questions. And then it will come up like this for them. And for the higher level groups that take place, the questions aren't multiple choice, but for the sort of medium level groups, we keep them multiple choice, so that, even if people aren't sure, they can have a guess and get it right. And those that really do know the variation, they can privately message me on Zoom, their full variation. And some people like to do that. So it's sort of trying to adapt to different levels, and making sure the children have fun. And like I say, any answer that the children put in, I can download that all into a spreadsheet. And so I have a track of all the children, how they're doing throughout the term. So, for example, there you go. So they get to be part of a leaderboard. This is not the live one that I would do if I was doing the actual lesson. This is the one they can attempt afterwards if they want to revise topics. So it's quite, well, in my opinion, the children just love it. When we went to doing these, rather than just using just PowerPoint presentations, the children said this is so much fun, and they get points and they get streaks. And it's just worked absolutely fantastically for us. So we're not going to go through all of the questions now. I was just giving you an example. So in terms of the rest, so like I say, they get all the questions are here on Lead Chess, so they get access to this as well. Because I do appreciate that children work at different paces, and some might like to revise them after. The majority don't actually. They prefer just to do them during the lesson. But at the end of term, we did last week, we have like tests, and that's not supposed to be to scare the children. It's just to see how they're getting on, see what they've learned this term. And we did those last week. So I take a question from every single lesson that we've done throughout the term, and I make it into a test quiz. And I make it so they can't see how each other are getting on. So, and I say it doesn't matter how you do. We just use it as a way of seeing, what children have learned throughout the term. And like I say, the feedback on it has been fantastic. And in terms of running school chess like competitions online, as I say, we use Lead Chess. I think that Chess Kid and chess.com are very, very good. I just think that Elite Chess is the most user-friendly and it's the easiest to use. It's not got any bugs or anything in it. So let's just have a quick look at Elite Chess now. So there's 3 ways to run the school tournaments on there. I'll just take one of my, I'll take the Autumn Term Chess Club. So if I wanted to run a tournament here, I could choose between the arena, which many of you will be familiar with. And the benefit of that is they always get a game without long breaks. They just keep playing games in a certain time. So I have arena tournaments after my classes that children can participate in for 45 minutes. If I was running the UK Chess Challenge, which I will do next term at all my schools, I will run it as a Swiss tournament. So that's if they play people on the same points as them. The only slight disadvantage is that is they have to wait between the games until the last game is finished, but that's not different. That's no different to when we were playing over the board tournaments. So yeah, you just set up the tournament here. You choose the number of rounds, which would be 7. You choose the clock time that you want. For the Swiss, I like to not add increments on for the school stage, because that means that if somebody doesn't know how to checkmate with a queen and a bishop, then you're not waiting around while they're just moving their pieces around. So I don't add increments for those. But for the more serious parts of the tournament, the mega final, giga final and terra final, then I would add increments on. And we have realized that 10 minutes plus 10 seconds works very well. Okay, it is quite fast, but I think chess online is quite different to over the board chess. In that sense, children aren't very good at focusing too much. Well, no, it's not just children. I don't think I can play slow games very well on the computer. So yeah, you can set the Swiss tournament up like this. It's very easy to do. And if you're doing it for the school stage, I wouldn't encourage putting increments on the clock. And some schools like to do 1 round every single week to add the competition element to it and the excitement of the next round. And they want to put the pairings at school. So this is fine. The only thing about that is it is a lot more fiddly. You have to actually tell the children who they're playing, and they have to challenge each other, which can be done here. But it is, it's harder and it's a bit more fiddly, but it's not to say it doesn't work. It's worked very well with the junior for NCL this year in England. So yeah, that's a bit about Lead Chess. I mean, I am helping all the teachers through this. So I'm offering sessions on how to use Lead Chess and how to set up their tournaments. And yeah, we're hoping to get lots of people entering the UK Chess Challenge this year. It's obviously a bit more challenging because the clubs aren't happening, and a lot of teachers are sort of saying, oh, I don't want to go online, it sounds really hard. But I'm trying to get the message out there that it is quite easy. And what I do is I send all the prizes to the school so that they can distribute the prizes to the children. Children like the prizes and the rewards for their hard work, and it just keeps the fun element to it. So there you go, that's an overview of how it all works, and I'm open to questions now.
Thank you very much, Sarah. That was fabulous, and I can certainly confirm how much enjoyment the children are getting out of your tournament. I mean, they always have done, and they were very worried indeed when the obvious thing happened this year in 2020, and they thought they weren't going to be able to play in mega finals and giga finals. And how you got that up and running so quickly once the emergency started is nothing short of miraculous. So really well done for keeping the opportunity going. Most people would have just said, let's just not do it this year. Let's have it next year instead, or see what happens after the emergency is over. But you embraced the challenge brilliantly, and we all take our hats off to you. I mean, were you tempted not to do it this year at all?
So no, we wanted to keep the competition running. We spent a lot of time trying to get it to work, working out the correct platform to use, doing some sort of analysis of how to stop cheating and things like that. But no, we weren't tempted to not run it, and we were very keen to get it, you know, going as soon as possible, but we delayed it slightly whilst we were sort of doing our research.
Yes, so you've really embraced the challenge there. Let's take a couple of questions from the Q&A. Are you running all of your clubs straight into classrooms, or do you do some into their homes, as in remote learning?
Yeah, so all of the classes, yeah, they do from home. So they run at 5:15 every evening.
That was the question from the great Dr. Varney. We know him very well, of course, in the CSC circles and beyond. And we've got a question from Judith, who says, have you experienced that children get tired of screen time after a long day of school or at the end of the week and into the school year? What ideas do you have for coaches how to run a class that's less share the screen and more interactive online classes?
So yeah, I think sometimes they do get tired. That's why I think you need to have some form of engagement, which has worked pretty well for us with quizzes. I also like get them to try the coordinates game as a warm up. That's quite fun on Lichess. But yeah, you have to mix it up a bit. And I don't think 1 hour lessons work. So that's why we use 45-minute lessons. It seems pretty good time, as long as you've got the engagement with the children.
Yes, that's a very important point, isn't it? About we're all spending too much time on screens, but what else can we do at the moment? We've got to wait until things change for the better, of course. We're certainly on a very steep learning curve, very much so. Question from Marcus. Have you any tips on how to get young children, less than 8 years old, online? This is a major problem for us, even with Lichess. So it's engaging the very young ones.
So we have a lot of young children join the classes, and it does work, but I would probably say these are young children that have an interest in chess. I think it is quite hard to get young children that aren't really that interested in chess, but the parents want them to be interested. Those children would probably do better at an over the board, you know, school chess club. I feel like the people that join our classes are people that do like chess already or do have some sort of interest. But I think by keeping them engaged with these activities, it does tend to work pretty well.
That's good. Thank you, Sarah. We've just got a couple more questions to ask, and then I'm going to introduce the next panelist, because we will share up the time equally. And if there's time left at the end, we can have an open house session for all of the panelists. I think is a good way, because there may be things that are similar or perhaps not similar between the panelists' approaches, and we'll be able to discuss that if there's time at the end. So a couple of quick questions here. We've got a question here, maybe I missed it, but what is the age of the children? Well, I can answer that one. The UK Chess Challenge is open to children of all ages, from very tiny ones all the way up to under 18s, and it's magnificent, absolutely wonderful to see them all playing at the mega finals, and of course this year online. So that's certainly happening for children of all ages. And a question here from George. George asks, I notice you have an Airtable list of Lichess puzzles. Is that something you created yourself?
Yes, we use Airtable for the whole business, and it is absolutely fantastic. It's a way of there's 4 people that work for the business, and it's a way of us all sort of helping each other out. So like, I'll just quickly show it again. Oh, you still look at my screen, yeah. So like, for example, here we have like a process for checking, you know, that the quizzes and the PowerPoints have been reviewed, and then we can leave comments to each other. So to us, it's an absolute dream. It works very well. So I'll write here, I think there's a problem with that. We've done a typo, and then Johnny will correct it and things like that. So it's a really good way of getting it a slick process if you're working remotely and there's more than one person working on the projects, like in our case.
Thank you very much, Sarah. In fact, can you access the Q&A chat thing?
Yes,
there,
I can. So I'll answer some of those questions, yeah, privately.
You happy to do that? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Thank you very much. That's probably a good way to deal with it, with the time issue, because as people know very well, I'm a stickler for starting and finishing on time, and I think it's good for everyone to be in that habit. So thank you very much, sir. That was fascinating. If you're happy to answer the questions there, and we will have an open house session at the end if there's time. But it certainly is a very positive step you've taken, Sarah, to keep things going, and I'm full of admiration for your work, as you know. And now the next panelist we have Louise Blasco de la Cruz from Spain, I believe. Are you happy to speak next, Louise?
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Over to you, sir.
Okay. Hi all. It's a pleasure for me to be with all of you here. I will I will try to share the screen with a second. Well, my name is Luis Blasco de la Cruz. I am working in Spain in Club 64 Villalba and Madrid Chess Academy. And I imagine that, like all members, we are in the room today. We are speaking about school chess during the pandemic and how we work in all places with this problem about COVID-19, no? Because it's a problem for chess. Maybe not people don't, all people don't see, but it really is a problem because it's not easy to practice our sport. First of all, we changed some friends, and we have new friends, no? Social distance, gel, temper, mask, and not touch between us, giving shake hands, for example. So we must be more near from these new friends and try to use properly to avoid any problem in schools, in clubs, and in any place we are working, because it's not a matter only for us, it's a matter for all, no? We are all together in the same problem. Okay, I will try to be more concrete how to work on this pandemic, because of course we are doing many things all, and I want to hear Alexander too and the other speakers. So, for example, we are using in the schools Chess Kit. We believe that for kids is the best platform, because it's the most designed mainly to use for kids, no? When you play in Chess.com and Lichess, and there are a lot of adults who are not polite when they are playing. They give bad words and they try to be impolite playing with kids. So I think we must keep the children in their habit. Are the best place for kids is a platform for kids, no? Of course, for professional players, for club players, we prefer to work with Chess.com and Lichess, because are more professional, has more option for strong players, and the idea to separate kids and adults is about not only about level, it's about age, it's about treatment, it's about we think that each specific group of age must have their own place to train. It's very important to have a protocol. We have a protocol in schools, we have a protocol in the club, we have a protocol to play chess with all people, because if not, we are not doing the things properly. Of course, we must respect the temper, we must respect the mask, we must use gel, we must have social distance, we must have enough distance between tables, only one kid per table, because if we have more kids in one table, it's dangerous. To clean the pieces and boards each time and in each class. So with all of these points, we are trying to show how to make a protocol in a club or in a school, in a chess school time season, no? It's very important to avoid to eat and drink during games, to share this food and drinks, and to move during games, no? For me, it was really difficult. I was playing the Spanish Team Championship, and was really difficult to be 4 hours in the seat without moving and without going to any place. We are accustomed to play, and meanwhile we are playing, we go to see the friends, we are go to see the rivals, and now we can't move from our place. So this is a very important thing to speak to the kids, and to have all of this under control, to be more efficient in our classes. How we work in COVID in Madrid about COVID. First of all, with Chess 64 Villalba, we prepare a program with our municipality, and we give free lessons to all the schools and to all children during 2 months. The chess classes were taught by Discord with audio, video, and sharing screen. We think that Discord is not a very popular platform yet, and it's very good because you can have there under control the chat, the video, the audio, the content of the meetings. You can share a screen like, for example, Zoom, but you can create a live community. You can have permanent contact with your pupils, not only in the class. You can speak with them, you can chat with them, you can help them. You have a private chat, you have a public chat. So I recommend for all the clubs and all the schools that are working online that they must test Discord application, because it's very good. It's very good. We are using with universities in some moments too to help the students to improve, and it's very good. Of course, you must have some knowledge about applications, how to install, how to use, but Discord is a very good application and is completely free. We did many things during this pandemic. Sometimes we could go out, sometimes we were at home, but we tried to make some things for develop our sport, to show in the streets and to show that it's not dangerous, maintaining the social distance, the distance between the boards, and to have all the conditions to have security. This is a girl giving a simul here in Madrid some weeks ago. We spoke about places to play mainly, no? To play and to train, but not to train professionally, maybe to play. Places to train for us, the best places are Learning Chess and Chesslang. For our club, chess club players, we use Chesslang. Our international masters of the club give lessons to the other there. And with Learning Chess, the people train at his own rhythm. No, is the idea is you control your time, and you control the time you dedicate to each application, to each moment to be better. There is 2 important applications to work with kids. One is El Ajedrez de Vitor, Vitor Chess House in English. You know the application because was the main application about Castle project. We will see, I think, tomorrow in the morning how to use El Ajedrez de Vitor Chess House. And it's a funny application for kids, but for little kids. And of course, not for strong players. It's for kids who don't know how to play from zero. No? We are using this platform too with chess teachers to train them how to start to play. And of course, to prepare exercises, the best place I think is Logic Board from Learning Chess, from my friend Janos Palagi. I think he will speak later. And it's a very useful program, very useful application to prepare exercises for kids, for print, for publish. We will see later. For example, we see here some examples. The first one is to substitute the face, the funny face for a piece, black piece, which gives checkmate. You can put faces, you can put rivers, you can put green, you can put numbers, squares, flags, arrows. It's a very complete program to show many exercises. Some of them advanced, some of them very easy. For example, down you see in green with numbers the exercise of the knight. You must move the knight in the board without go to the same square 2 times. And this is very good exercise for kids because keeps their attention, their concentration, and helps them to do in a funny way because they want to do with colors, with some specific figures, so they can use like this. We did many things in the schools these days. We try to do seminar for arbiters, seminars to teach how to use Swiss Manager for schools and Vega, because the idea is to show that the schools can work in this COVID moment with chess. We create our Twitch channel. We participate in many interviews in internet, trying to spread chess in schools and the importance and the idea about rules for kids in tournaments. We made some courses for advanced players, charity simuls to take money for the people who have not enough resources to survive. We take a coffee in Twitch program with a very important doctor in Spain, who is a grandmaster, chess grandmaster too, and he spoke about COVID and how to do properly things. So we many things about this pandemic time, and we worked in many fields to try to spread chess and to do the things. And of course, the schools here in Spain now is not allowed to do many things in extrascolar time. So for us, it's very difficult to work in a school, not in internet, in the schools during chess. So it's really difficult to see photos like this. No, we want to do this again. We want to share more time with our students, to be with them in the school, not in internet, because like Sarah said, and Shin too, maybe for internet it's difficult to maintain the concentration, the attention, to be more time on one task, and to go on the work properly. No, so we prefer, of course, to work live.
Thank you very much, Lewis. That really is fascinating, and you're absolutely correct. We want to get back to normality. We want to be exactly in the picture like you've presented there, showing us all around the chessboard in a physical capacity. But your efforts are fantastic also in getting things up and running in some way, shape, or form during this terrible emergency that we're undergoing at the moment. And we've got lots of things in place now, which eventually both things will coexist, presumably, that we'll always have the option of doing as much as we want to online, including this magnificent conference. But you can't beat the face-to-face interaction. And that's something we must never lose, of course, no matter how long the emergency does go on for. Just before we ask questions for Louise, which can be put in the Q&A, and I'll read them out and then Louise can answer them. We had a query about adjusting the size of the panelists and the speakers and the slides. That can all be controlled not from our end but from your end, and there's some settings top right on your Zoom screen usually. It may vary from people's Zooms, but you can actually make the full screen of the slide, you can make the full screen of the speaker, or you can have a gallery view. So we can't affect that from this end, but anybody who would like to see the slides in larger format, that's down to your own settings on your side of the machine. You just need to play around with them until you find the right ones if you're unfamiliar. Just a note, by the way, we're averaging 72 people at any one time in this particular session, which I think is fabulous. So it really is brilliant that you're all here. Do we have any questions for Louise that we can, if you put them into the Q&A, because this is a slightly different form of meeting. It's a webinar rather than an official Zoom experience. So we've got to put them in the Q&A. So if you'd like to write them in there, and we can answer those. Or we could always pick up those later on as well. Louise could answer those on the go as we're introducing the next panelist. I mean, how do you feel, Louise? When do you think things will return almost to normality in Spain? How's the feeling there?
Well, normal, very difficult to think, because we have some contact with some doctors and important people who are working on medicine topics in Spain. And maybe until June, the things are difficult because the vacuum is not clear when will be effective 100%. So it's difficult. Maybe for this scholar season, who finish at least in Spain in June, will be really difficult to be there in schools. No, all of us, we hope to be safety and doing normal life for the Olympiad in Moscow. I hope with Alexander. No, it's really difficult to know because maybe there is a lot of irresponsible people yet who don't believe the danger of the COVID.
Yes, indeed. We have a question in the Q&A now.
Yeah.
Is Spain planning to organise big chess prize events online?
Well, big chess prize, I don't believe. For example, my company, Madrid Chess Academy, has not enough resources. Now I imagine that in all places happens the same. It's really difficult because we have a very important problem. We will see here in Madrid, in London Chess Conference, in the next conference these days about anti-cheating. No, it's a very important problem for chess. And if you do tournaments with high prices, with enough anti-cheating protection, it's really difficult to be sure that the winner is doing clean, with complete clean. Now I am international arbiter too. Now we are in the World Chess and Youth event, and it's difficult. It's difficult to be sure in any time that the players are playing with complete conditions of regulations. No? So this is another topic that we must improve in chess, anti-cheating.
Yes, it's suddenly become very, very important. And it's worth pointing out that cheating in online chess isn't a new thing at all. It dates back to when chess was first played online. You know, even in the old days, if you remember the Kasparov chess site, which was very, very popular in the late 1990s and early 2000s, it was absolutely rife with cheats all of the time. And there was no punishment because we weren't playing for anything apart from getting your rating up at 1 or 2 points at a time and things like this. So, and then if people were banned, they created just new accounts and just cheated again and things like this. So it's by no means a new thing, but I think it's becoming ever more popular simply because of the sheer number of people that are playing online. But it's not absolutely new, but we need obviously measures in place to combat all of that. Now, Louise, there are 1 or 2 questions in the Q&A. If you wouldn't mind answering those while we introduce the next panelist, is that okay? And we can always catch up with the other ones in the chat as well. We will cover everything by the time we're finished, but we're bang on time actually. We're giving each panelist 20 minutes each. We've already had fascinating talks from England and now Spain, and now we turn our attention to the Russian Chess Federation. We have Alexander Kostyev. Would you like to take over now, please, Alexander?
Yes. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Luis, especially. Yes. Unfortunately, Stefan Lofer asked me to give report only, without slide, without presentation. And I prepared.
No, that's absolutely fine. Every approach is fine. It's just like in chess, whatever works is the best move. So whatever you've got is absolutely fine, sir.
I give you short information. First of all, recently in Russia was made a survey, social survey, and this shows that approximately half our citizens can play chess. It's very, it's very pleasure for us. And most of them associate chess with development of mental abilities and try to distribute chess in your children and grandchildren and so on. What is why it's popular chess. During pandemic, we have a good chance if we can make to see for another kind of sports, for football or other kind of sport. Chess can play in internet, and that is given for us very good chance. Our statistics shows every day we provide 100 tournaments, internet tournaments and match and altogether we have about 10,000 children every day. It's a big figure. There are other kind of competitions. Official, for example, tournament with supporting on the umbrella of Ministry of Education. It was biggest tournament, other kind of ages, about 11,000 children. For example, our traditional tournament, White Rook, it's very famous, very popular tournament in Russia. And our federation arranged selection in 75 regions. And finally, all winners from region play in internet final tournament. And so on. We use national platform chessking.com. It's very interesting platform. Many chess courses for coaches, for children, for parents, and so on. But my personal opinion for younger children, the very interesting platform Chessmatek by Alterman Group, Israel, for kindergarten, for first level class for 6, 7 years old. And Lichess, of course, it's very comfortable program, platform too. And of course, we see very exotic events for Russia. For example, many private chess match between small village, small chess club in the middle of Siberia, for example, and Chicago, or Tatarstan play in Milano. But it's simply coaches have friendship between each for each and arrange personally very interesting matches. So many matches. For us, it's very it's news for our chess federation because no more connection in Russia for West. But now it's really. So we continue our chess life, and pandemic not stop our activity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Another very positive and uplifting presentation. I'm sure we will all agree. Are there any immediate questions for Alexander? If so, you can drop them into the chat, the Q&A rather than the chat box, and we'll pick them up in the Q&A. We will have time at the end for a general set of questions to all four panelists, which I'll sort of facilitate. But if there's no immediate, are you okay, Alexander, to answer them as they come in with the Q&A? Are you okay to do that? And in the meantime, last but certainly not least, we have from Portugal, a teacher and a chess teacher. It's Vitor Cardoso. So welcome. Apologies for saving you till the end, Vitor, but it was just as the people appeared on my screen at the top there, but you're very welcome. And I'm absolutely fascinated to hear what you're going to see and bring us news from Portugal. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's a very interesting conference that we are attending, and thank you for the invitation. Well, in Portugal, in March 8th, all schools, or at least some schools, were all closed, so no chess for anyone. And since March 16, all schools in all Portugal kids were sent to school, and most of the kids that were learning chess in school, there was no response. Online chess was not available, or at least used in schools. We had kids playing in schools with boards, with chess pieces, with chess clocks. That was our aim, and we were being very successful. We had at our county at least 900 kids playing. So in 3 years, we spent from 0 to 900 kids. It was a good program and project, and it's still running. But in the last 6 months, we had some difficulties. First, the kids were not at school, so chess was not available to teach for them or to practice. And the other problem was that although some students had a computer and we could move online with Lichess and chess.com, both platforms were the ones that we use in Portugal, at least in our schools where I work in Felgueiras. But play on a chessboard with face-to-face with our adversary was not possible. And kids start losing interest, but because as we all heard and I'm sure all noticed, we want to play face-to-face. Online it's important. It gives you very much advantages to show to the colors, but mainly kids like to play face-to-face. They like to see the other one reacts to their move. They like to see their adversary losing. Of course, we are competitive, so we want to win, and we want to have, and they want to have the smile on their faces when they know they are winning. So we have to move online. It was difficult because some students had a laptop, wireless, internet, good conditions, but other students, they don't have the same social background, and so their parents, their conditions at home, we have to realize that sometimes there is one laptop for 2 kids at home. They have classes at the same time, and so chess was not the main priority to parents and to kids. Well, then in September, the school year started, and in Portugal, all kids went back to school from 6 years to older, and chess is possible to be played and to be taught in classroom, but it's different. You can no longer put the best ones playing with the best ones, because you have to, and this is health, the health authorities said that, and the same students have to play with the same student all over the year. You cannot change students. So for them, they are playing the same adversary each week. It's not motivating, because if I am a good chess player or a good learning so fast and I'm winning, I win today, I win tomorrow, next week, and I'm getting no motivation. If I'm a not so bright student at chess or a not so bright chess player, chess student, I'm losing and I'm losing and I'm losing, and it is different. And for us teachers, it's difficult to motivating them. We go online, of course, for the kids that are at home, because sometimes we have all the class at home for 2 or 3 weeks, or we have half the class at the classroom and half the class is at home. So you have to teach online and you have to teach in the classroom. In the classroom, they have to wash their hands before they go to the board. They have to use gel and they have to wear a mask. And it is difficult for kids like 6 to 10 years old. For those of you that know that, they spend 1 hour with a mask. It is difficult. They try to take it off. They try to, oh, it's hot, can't breathe. Well, all that. And we have to, as a teacher, have to have all the precautions, because health here is the main concern. So we have that problems that we needed to have solutions. One is going online and share with the kids with Lichess, creating teams, creating tournaments, and trying to teach them through Lichess. But then again, schools here have different schedules, and some students are available to learn chess at the hour that it's supposed to, between 5 and 6 in the afternoon. It's a good time for Portugal to teach, but others only from 6 to 7. So you have to divide yourself between this kind of schedule. Also, as you can recall, teaching online is not the same thing, because if you have 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 students in your laptop, you can see them. Well, in Portugal, as in many other countries, I'm sure, we have 25 students for class. So you cannot see them all at once. It is difficult for us. And if the internet connection is not good, well, some of them are going to lose games because the net connection went out. And for them, well, I'm trying to play and I lost, but I lost not because I'm a bad player or I'm doing bad moves. I lost because my internet is bad. It's not their fault. And as teachers, we need to motivate them and create exercise and opportunities. And this is from ages of 6 to 10. In other ages, from 10 for 18, well, in schools, they are at school. We have the opportunity to teach them face to face, but with masks. They cannot change adversary during our training, so they have to play with the same person. Health insurances. We need to take care of that and to be assured that we are not spreading COVID-19. And tournaments are no longer played face to face. We have difficulties because I remember before COVID-19, we organized a small tournament in school with 41 kids. For our school, it was great because we are in part of Portugal that has not a chess tradition. So there is not the regularity, the habit of playing chess. So we managed to, in a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, manage to gather 40 kids playing, and the parents were all okay, and they were all enthusiastic about chess and asking when is the next tournament. And then in March, COVID-19 broke our effort. And nowadays you cannot do that kind of tournaments, because if you organize a tournament in Portugal, in a school, or at least 20 kids is the most you can have. So it's different. Tell them you cannot play. Why? I want to play, but you cannot because there are limitations. You can play outside, as someone already said. Yes, but then there is the conditions. In Portugal, we are hitting the winter. It's getting cold. Yesterday was snowing, so outside, not the kind of temperature in Russia, I know. Well, yeah, but again, safety and health concerns. Well, well, we saw a little small snow. So for Portugal, or at least the region where I work, seeing snow, it's already meaning of it's getting cold, very cold, and we cannot go outside, and it's going to start raining. Winter is coming, and well, you cannot go outside. And as you know, parents are concerned, and we teachers are not, well, at least crazy enough to say, well, let's play outside, let's play face to face, because if one of them get infected with COVID-19, all of our efforts will go away. We will lose every kind of work we have. So what we are doing here, we are teaching in classes, yes. We are taking them, or at least making students go online and participate in our tournaments. We get through shares. We are trying to organize school tournaments step by step. At first, we have a few participants. Now we get like 20, 30 participants in our tournaments, and that's a good sign. And in Portugal, there are other schools that are organizing online tournaments, and now they have 200 kids playing during the Sunday. It's good. It's very good. So, but it's a process. It takes our efforts every day. But what we can see in Portugal, that students and kids still like to play chess, either online, but preferably face to face, as we do. And I'm sure all are anxious to be back on the boards and playing, but still through the online chess, Shares, chess.com and other platforms, we are trying to get kids learning chess, playing chess, and participate in chess tournaments. And hopeful next year, like March, April, June, we will be back on the boards, hopefully, with kids, and they want to play. They ask us to play, but We have to say that well, you cannot change adversary in every chess play because, well, health is important.
Thank you very much, Vitor. That was absolutely fascinating. And I'll just take a few general points mentioned by each of the four panelists, and then I'll read out the questions that are coming in to the Q&A. Sarah mentioned she finds it difficult to play long play games on the internet. And most of us are probably used to playing 1-minute games or 3-minute games or something like that. And obviously that's just for fun. You're messing around with some new openings, you try them out and things like this. And I found myself trying to play a longer game of chess. I'm not a bad player, you know, but playing the longer games of chess put me in real trouble. And I played 5 games for the 4 NCL this year, and I lost all 5. And okay, my opponents were very good. They played very well. I deserved to lose, but I just seemed to fall between the two stools of trying to get into a rhythm of play, and trying to take it quite seriously and think deeply. And before I knew it, I was just drifting into trouble. And I think, you know, I'm quite an experienced player. I've been playing a long time. And if I find it hard to adapt, and certainly if Sarah's a much better player than I am, if she finds it hard to adapt, then you can imagine for some children that's going to be really difficult as well. And I think you mentioned the point, Vitor, the children like to see each other smiling. They like to be with each other. They like that sort of instant exchange of energy, if you like, and ideas, and talk about the moves as they're going on. And that is a problem online because, yes, you've got chat facilities on the 4 NCL, but you're not going to be chatting because you're supposed to be thinking about your moves. So the social impact should never, ever be underestimated. So I'm glad Sarah raised that point about the difficulty of switching between the length of time on the games, because I found it really difficult. I sort of enjoyed the games, but it didn't mean that much to me when I was losing them in a strange sort of way. I wasn't sulking for a week like I would normally do. So
actually like to keep their videos on when we do the tournaments, and I let them, because then you can kind of, I mean, it's not the same, I agree it's not the same, but at least it adds a bit of atmosphere, so that, when they blunder and that kind of thing. And Hans Pease, who's often at this conference, he's going to send me one of the DGT integrated boards, and I'm going to try some games with that.
Oh, that yes, to give it like the real life feeling of the game of chess. That's a good idea. I might have to. I'll try anything. I'm desperate, but but we'll get something going. So I'll be interested to see how that goes for you, Sarah. And just to pick up some of the general points as well, I can just share some experiences that I've had going into my own schools here in the northeast of England. And when we sort of reconvened at the end of summer and found out which of our schools were interested in taking chess back already, we found out that some of them wanted chess online. So we deliver Zoom lessons and sometimes Microsoft Teams, sometimes Skype. And they're going really well. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about that tomorrow in a different panel, so I don't want to say too much now. Some schools wanted to just see how things were going to pan out in the new year before they took up chess again, which is fine, but they're still involved with us. We're still in touch with them. And when it gets to January and February, we'll see if they want any form of chess delivery. But some still wanted the physical chess delivery, which was fine by us. And I'm one of 4 tutors on T-side. And we were able to go into schools. But what was really apparent was just how different everything was from school to school, even if a school was literally around the corner from another school. Some schools wanted all sorts of things in place. In some schools, it was very hard to tell that anything was different. We could just go through the school normally. We could talk to the children normally. Whereas in other schools, we had to wear masks all the time. In other schools, we had to wear masks just as we went through the school before we got to the classroom. Some children, and I think you mentioned this, Vitor, as well, you want them to mix with each other so they get new experiences. So the top players don't want to be playing someone that can thrash all the time. That's not doing anybody any good. And it's
he's motivated.
Yeah, exactly. And that happens on both sides of the board. So, but in some schools, they're not allowed to move from their seat. They have to be strictly in rows, you know, with a table and chairs. They can't even play the person behind them or in front of them by switching around the table. So it is a major challenge. But before we take some more questions, it's very apparent talking to the panelists, and we've got some fantastic comments in the chat, and everyone's really positive there. So thank you very much for those ideas. I can see a big exchange of information going on there. Is how everyone, certainly on this call, has risen to the challenge. And we're talking about a relatively short period of time, you know, from March until now is not very long in the grand scheme of things. It may feel a long time because we're having to sit at home and all the rest of it, but in real terms, what everyone's achieved, certainly on this call and speaking to the panelists, is nothing short of miraculous. to get things going in Spain, in the UK, of course, in Russia, in Portugal. And I'm sure if we opened it up to other people to become panelists, we'd get the same stories from other parts of the world, that everyone is desperate to create opportunities for children to play chess. And somehow, despite everything, we could have all given up. We could have run up the white flag and said, okay, we're not doing this until things are clearer. But the important thing is we didn't give up. And everyone on this call is trying very hard to create opportunities for children to play chess. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. It's just the sort of positive thing that keeps things going in people's minds. Because if we all gave up things and only returned when things are back to normal, people would be so dispirited that nothing's going on. It would make things a lot of times worse. And because there's no physical chess at the moment, my area and everybody else's must be exactly the same. We've now got this big gap in the roll of honor in all of our tournaments. You know, we haven't got a Teesside champion this year, and we never will have for this year. And all our other tournaments as well are similarly going to have this big gap in the roll of honor that we present at the end of each year. Just a year when nothing seems to have happened. But we know that things are happening, and that's especially thanks to the people on this call who I know are all very creative people, and that certainly inspires me when I'm mixed with creative people. I'm so excited to be here with you all today. We should now open up the questions. I think the panelists have been working really hard to answer the questions all of the time there while we've been speaking in the Q&A, but do please put some more questions in there and we'll open it up. We've got a question here from Anton. Question for Sarah. Do you use the free version of Airtable? And do you use this to structure the different topics?
So with Airtable, we have a paid version. But yeah, we use it to structure everything and to communicate. We find it absolutely fantastic. It works for the UK Chess Challenge, so we can log all the children, we can have the profiles, and then you can actually just upload things to the website pretty instantly. So for us, it's been amazing.
Good.
I don't work for Airtable, by the way.
I think anything that works now is getting everyone's recommendations. So it's understood that we're not representing any company or anything like that. And whatever works for people is definitely the best thing to do. And that's another thing that we found out very quickly, certainly on Teesside, is that everybody was new to online delivery and all that sort of thing. And everybody was on such a steep learning curve that my mission at the start of that and training the CSE tutors was whatever works for one person may not work for another person, but I'm not going to standardize any house style. It's just whatever works at the time is definitely the best way to go. And if we can deliver in any way, shape or form to schools and keep the children engaged in chess and improve their thinking skills, then that works. You know, it's not a question of using this format or that format. It's anything that works to keep things going has to be the correct method to use at this moment. If the thing drags on for many more years, we might standardize things, who knows, but we shall see. Any more questions? Sorry, is that Sarah?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of questions in the chat about different platforms, and like Sean said, there's so many good things out there. The reason I was focusing on Lead Chess is because that works for running tournaments and for schools to set up like school competitions. But like, you know, Chessity's been mentioned, that's fantastic. Chess Kids, fantastic. You know, there's so much out there, and like Sean said, whatever works for you, you should try different things. I think it's great.
I think that's absolutely correct. And I've noticed there someone's put in the chat, if anyone's on Twitter and wants to share their handle in the chat, by all means do so, and it'd be nice to connect with people. Because I find this all the time at conferences, we have a relatively short time together, and it's absolutely wonderful. And then people go their separate ways, and sometimes you never hear from them again. But we've got such an enormous amount of information to share, and a lot of goodwill, and a lot of positive energy, which I think is hugely important. That should be continuing after the conference. And just to make the point that all these sessions are being recorded, and they should be available through the conference website shortly after the conference. So just keep an eye on the website. I don't know if John Foley or Bridget is going to send out an email to that effect, but just keep an eye on the website or keep an eye on Twitter. And as soon as they're available as videos, then you'll be able to relive this fine moment by watching it as much as you want. I mean, there's nothing on the TV anyways, so you might as well watch your conference again. Any panelists like to expand on anything at the moment while we're sort of between questions? If you've got anything else to say, then now's a very good time to jump in.
There's some talk in the chat about adding the sort of chess field to competitions and to running things online to make it feel like a real over-the-board tournament. And for us, on Zoom, you can use breakout rooms, which is very good. So we have sort of like a waiting area between games where children can chat. And we keep the children on the videos so they can sort of see each other, see the emotions. Also, there's parent WhatsApp groups work very well. These are very easy to set up. You just send the link and people can choose to join if they want to. So there's lots of ways of trying to create the atmosphere that you would have at a real over-the-board tournament.
That's a very good point as well. Thank you, Sarah. And obviously it's a work in progress. We're all evolving very, very quickly. And that's an interesting question to put to all four of you. As everybody now is going online, and there's probably millions more people on Zoom at any particular moment than at any other time in the past history, or Skype or Microsoft Teams, do any of the four panelists experience the internet crashing on them or Zoom not being able to take all of your traffic?
Just have to have a cable. and yeah, just have a cable, and then you won't have that problem, and have a good internet connection, and then have a co-host that's also got a good connection, and then you won't. Because for me, it would never happen because I wouldn't want it to happen. It would be embarrassing and humiliating. So as long as you have a cable plugged in and a co-host that can take over if there's a problem, then it works perfectly.
That's a good idea. Co-host, yes, absolutely. Alexander, what's it like in Russia? Do you have very good internet connections to keep everything going?
No.
How is your internet in Russia? Do you ever have any problems with your online events?
No, it's correct. It's correct. Majority is correct. Majority is correct.
Yeah. Excellent, thank you. And Vitor, do you have any problems with that?
Yes, in Portugal we have different places, different coverage of internet, and in some places, mainly in the main cities, internet is very good, so working, no problems. But in countryside, it's different. We have an example. In May, there was a national scholar championship, and it was rainy, very rainy in some parts of the country, and some schools cannot participate in the tournament because they have no internet. So for students, it's different. If you organize a tournament and some of them cannot go online, well, it's a problem. They cannot be motivated like that, as we should be. And just answering one question, no, in Portugal, it is not part of our school curricula to have chess. It's still not part of our national educational system. Some counties have chess, some of them for 40 years in schools, so a long history of teaching chess. Some, like where I work, we started in 2017. So far, around 1,000 students a year, from 6 to 8 to 10. All the other students, well, that's part of schools. If they want to promote chess, extracurricular activities, school sports, chess has been growing in school sports. It's very important. It has been very, very helpful to promote chess. But online, well, it's different. Kids really want to play face-to-face, as we all do, I think.
It's a very good point. Thank you. Luis, how is the internet connection in Spain? Do you have any problems with anything that you're doing?
It depends the time of the day. If you try to do things at night, is worse because the people is playing Fortnite, FIFA, Call of Duty, and the connection is worse. It's very easy to demonstrate. During the day is not a problem, and if we try to work with kids and with the schools, it's correct. It's good. The connection now in Spain is better than in other times. And now maybe the families must improve the how to work at home, no? Because it's very easy to give a tablet to the kid and say, okay, you can connect, but the application is not the same. If you use, for example, Learning Chess, Chess Kid, chess.com, the application is not the same in web than in the tablet, no? So you have less options. You don't have specific options. For example, to play in clubs, it's very difficult to find how to play with club in chess.com or Lichess. So this is important too, no? How to work at home properly. Maybe it's better to have a computer, laptop, a little laptop, but it's better to work in laptop than in a tablet, no? Because I see many kids that you show them what is a mouse, and they don't want to, they don't know, they don't use, they only touch. So it's important to show them how to use this. And at least from the FIDE Commission of Chess in Education, we are trying to improve all of these things, because we need to educate the families too in this new chess technology. No?
It's a very important thing about the mouse, and Sarah's just put in a comment here about people complain about mouse slips in tournaments, and very famously, you know, it's a thing that we all do, and it's so very, very annoying because it's always a major move that changes the entire complex of the game.
Yes, Carson lost a game this week.
It's Queen.
It's the Queen, isn't it, normally? That blunderer Carlson did it last week in a tournament. He just mouse slipped his Queen, and we've all done it. And I was playing a game on chess.com quite recently. It's against a friend of mine, and I wanted to move my Queen, and I sort of picked up the Queen and dragged it across the board to pin something. And I thought, well, actually, it might not be the best move. I'll just put it back and think about alternative moves, but I can always go back to that move. So I put the Queen back, and while I was thinking, my opponent moved. I thought, how can he have two moves in a row? And what had happened, I put my Queen back on the wrong square. I mean, I know I shouldn't be picking his touch move anyway, but you shouldn't be putting the back on the wrong square. That's really bad, and it just shows the difference between the 2D and the 3D. And I was genuine. I could not believe what was happening. I thought, how can he's moving again? This is cheating. And you know, I should have highlighted the game on this conference with a cheating panel, perhaps. But I was just so fortunate that my Queen wasn't hanging when I put it down, because it could have been next to anything. And secondly, I was fortunate that he didn't have a killer move in between, which is a very rare case of a mouse slip. It's my own fault for not paying attention, but it took me absolutely aback. It was like one of those bad dreams where you're playing a game of chess in your dreams and someone's having as many moves as they want and you can't do anything about it. I'm sure we've all had dreams like that. So that was quite an interesting experience. But Sarah's right about the mouse slips there. I'm sure everyone on this call will be familiar with doing something similar.
Yeah, I always say to the children, click on the piece and then click on the square. Don't hover around thinking, where am I going to put it? But it's also they blunder and they say, oh, it's a mouse slip, and oh yeah.
It'll be interesting when we do return to normality, if we ever do, which hopefully we will. When we see children play, will this have any impact on their game? Because you know what it's like in schools. We all know what it's like. They're picking up pieces and they're waving them around in the air for half an hour before they decide where they want to move it to. Will they now be more disciplined, having done it online with Sarah's advice of clicking on things and making sure of the move? Or will they still pick up their Queen and wave it around for half an hour before putting it down on a real square? So it might have some positive impacts as well, being trained to play online, but we shall have to wait and see.
I think they'll play far too fast when they go back, because they'll be used to playing speed chess. So we'll need to train them to slow down. But they'll be very good tacticians, I think.
There's a lot to relearn, isn't there? We're learning a lot, but there's a lot to relearn as well when we go back to normality. I mean, the other thing in our schools, we can't mix up the bubbles. Every class is in a bubble and they're not allowed to meet each other. They have to have different play times and things. And it also means we need twice as many chess sets and chess boards in a school, because we can't use the same ones for the next class without having them thoroughly cleaned. So we're having to double up on everything just to keep things going. But we are keeping things going, and it's very rewarding when you see the enjoyment the children get out of doing something like chess, because so many things that they will enjoy doing are just not possible. But we've somehow found a way to keep that going for them, which I think everyone on this call should be really proud of their efforts. I know there's lots of people who are not panelists on this call, but I'm sure you're sitting there nodding in agreement that you've all created things and kept the opportunities going, which is fabulous, because there's not an awful lot of good news elsewhere really going on at the moment. So it's good that you're able to provide some glimmer of normality for the children, even if it's just through a screen playing chess. It's something that they enjoy doing, and it connects them again to their friends and connects them to you, which is fabulous, and it keeps things going. So I think it's fantastic. Are there any other questions? We're coming towards the natural end of the session, but if there are, Oh, I use 45 chess sets a week. Yes, indeed. Is a comment in the chat there, and it's suddenly, you know, it's not enough to just have 12 chess sets in a cupboard and farm them out and then bring them back and hope that all the black pawns are still there when you use them again. We've got to have twice as many, if not more, and it's a serious problem. It's good for the chess shops. They're selling loads of chess sets at the moment, but the other thing we can mention now actually is the impact the Queen's Gambit is having, the famous Netflix series is having on the number of people wanting to play chess, and this is bringing lots of people online as well. And it's not really a children's show, so I wouldn't be too pleased about children watching the program of the Queen's Gambit, but everything's sort of been pulled along together by the Queen's Gambit. And I've been on lots of calls recently where people are celebrating, chess players are celebrating being cool for once in their lives, because all their lives have been called nerds and chess players, which, I mean, the phrase chess player used to be an insult in many circles, but now it's high praise because you're very cool to be a chess player because their parents watch things on Netflix all about chess. So the world is definitely changing, and if it brings more people into the world of chess, that's fantastic. And you don't even need to watch the program to enjoy the benefits of more and more people coming on board with chess. Are there any other comments from anybody in the chat or the questions that we've not covered? Because it's probably time then to go and get yourselves a well-earned cup of tea before you go to your next pounds. That's the one thing about the virtual life. We haven't got a table with teas and coffees on and things like that. We've got to actually go and make them ourselves, which is not always easy when you're on the spot. Oh, Sarah's got show me that again, Sarah.
Yeah, it's my Olympiad mug, actually. It's quite my favorite.
Oh, Sarah has played in the Chess Olympiads and she's got a mug there to prove it.
It's empty. No need to.
If only we could pass the mug through the screen, we'd get Sarah a nice cup of tea. But one day, Sarah.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, next time we meet properly, we'll have a cup. I'll buy you a cup of tea. How's that? Some really lovely comments in the chat, and here's Anton. He's going to enjoy his lunch and his tea. He's obviously thinking about himself and not the rest of us there. He's just doing it for himself. That's public spirited. We are going to end the session now, but feel free to connect. It's been absolutely wonderful seeing you all here. I always enjoy the conferences, and online this year we thought it'd be quite different, but I think we've still maintained the general feel-good factor of the whole experience. And I always go away very inspired. You probably get lots of requests to be friends all over the place now from me on Twitter and Facebook and all the rest of it. But I hope we'll all see each other again. And next time, hopefully, it might actually be in a physical manifestation of ourselves. But if we have to be on screens again next year, we've proved today that it can work well and that we can all learn a lot from each other. So thank you very much indeed to our special guest panelists, Sarah, Alexander, Vitor, and Luis. Thank you very much for everybody who's not a panelist. Unfortunately, the way this one's set up, I can't actually see you or hear you, but I'm sure you'll have learned something. Sean, do you miss the Teesside to London commute? This is a question from Tim Wall. Last year when I went to the conference, every single train I tried to get was cancelled. And I finally got there about 11:30 at night rather than my intended 2:30. Oh yes, Tim, I love those commutes. And I'm looking forward to missing some trains again when life returns to normal. Thank you, Tim.